we'll start, and other people might drift in, and then I might have to all just pass them bits of paper. First off, yeah, my name's Nikki Barnes. I'm here today talking to you not because I am any kind of expert, but simply when we started this process, it happened to coincide with the fact that levels were then getting scrapped, and so it just meant that I was quite a good person for the school to use as a little guinea pig. So they wanted me to just share what we've been doing. You might think it's all rubbish, so you're more than welcome to tell me that in a nice way that won't make you cry. But yes, I have no bells and whistles. It's a really, I don't have exciting cartoons and images or exciting metaphors on mine. So if you feel yourself falling asleep, then feel free to ask a question just to wake yourself up, okay? Basically, it started 2 years ago. I became head of RE, and basically straight away I decided, and I don't know what your subjects or your areas are like, but I found that what I was given, what I was working with, was very wishy-washy. We get things that ask us for some knowledge or a good attempt, and I was like, what the hell does good mean? It's alright, it's alright. Here you go, I have exciting bits of paper for you.
We're at the front now.
Oh, key beans. Page one. And some of the other stuff, say for levels further down, they were just so wordy. It was really hard then to pick out the specific things that we would want to tell students. Now, I'm not going to lie, when I was just an RE teacher here, some of the Key Stage 3 levels, going from a level 4 to a level 5 was, level 4 was talk about a religion, and level 5 was talk about 2 religions. And I became head of department and thought, well, that doesn't actually add challenge. If a kid can talk about 1 religion in that detail, they could obviously do 2. All you're doing is penalising a slow writer, or those really conscientious students who like to write a lot of stuff, who will never get onto that bit. So I felt like I needed to break it down. And also with things like A-level, I never taught it, so I needed to know what I was talking about. When I looked at the advice, that didn't help me at all. So that was our big thing. And it turned into kind of like a little internal CPD. As we've been going through all the sessions today, they've all wonderfully been overlapping and leading into this. We turned it into a department CPD. Now that was easy for us because we have only got 3 people in our RE department. So it worked perfectly. We could meet really regularly to talk about these things. But what I wanted is to create consistency and clarity with what we were assessing and how we were assessing it, so that the students were clear, but also the staff, because quite honestly, I don't think that all RE teachers around the country even understand what they're doing. I wanted to make the assessment tool rigorous. Like I said, writing about 1 religion and then a second religion, that's not rigorous, that's not challenging. And we found that actually students who then finished the RE GCSE going on to A-level were really hindered. They didn't have the skills, they didn't have the challenge throughout the year, so they really struggled when they had to write massive essays. But also, I wanted us to use our subject knowledge and expertise to unpack it in our subject, because I did have 2 NQTs last year, I've got another one this year. It was really useful then for me to share the stuff that I knew about with them. I know I don't have a clicker, I should stand over there. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through the steps that we had over the 2 years. They happened at various points, and I'm not saying that it's a 2-year process. We just did lots of little things at different points. First thing, get everything. Don't reinvent the wheel. There's stuff out there already for levels and assessments and things like that. So I just collected everything. For us in RE, because we're really odd, because we're statutory but we're not actually national curriculum, it's really weird to get levels. So we've got our SAC rays, and then we've got our NAT rays, lots of rays. They're just lots of organisations that try and help RE teachers. So I went to them, got all the level stuff, went to the exam boards we use, got off the internet, all that stuff, got stuff that we used from last year, and I just got everything. As a result then, as the head of department, I was then able to bin the stuff that I knew was pointless, that wasn't going to help us, that was just repeating. You know, you get a lot of I can statements, things that you're going to share with students that are just repeating the same language. So step one was get everything, which led to the best step, the most important step, in making a new assessment criteria and coming up with what you want students to learn. These 4 questions should be the driving force. I sat down with the department regularly. We had conversations using all of this information. First off, what does that mean? So what exactly are we meant to be doing with our students? What are we assessing them for? What does it mean to have some accurate knowledge of a theory as opposed to a good attempt at addressing the theory? We broke that down, so then we knew what we were talking about and what we would tell the students. We wanted to create a journey. So what would the best look like at A level? Now for me, I'm going to be really honest, that's not my forte. Okay? I am one of the kinds of people that other RE teachers hate. My degree was not in RE. It was in English, so I could write a damn good essay, but I don't have the subject knowledge I didn't feel. But I knew that people in my department did, so I feel we're in a really good basis for that. So we looked at, well, what, in the best student, the best piece of work, what would they be able to do? And how do we get them there? Now I talked to a head of English in another school, and actually, they've gone one step further and they've talked as a department about what that would look at university. So they looked at, if these students studying our subject at university, what should they be able to do? What would they be able to demonstrate in terms of skills? And then work backwards. Working backwards is the best way of doing it. Don't go from the top up, go from the top down in terms of planning the journey of your students. Because you should always want to be pushing them up there. And admittedly, there aren't going to be loads of students that get to that point, but you want to be able to tell them, those A-star students you get in your classes, what can I do to improve this? Do this again. You're not helping them, you're not challenging them. So if we know what we expect further down the line, I mean, I've got a crazy Year 12 student who, she's smarter than me, I'm not going to lie, the girl is ridiculous. So I need to know, actually, and that's something that the department are going to talk about, because they actually did study RE at university. What did you have to do? What was it like studying this course there? So that's an important question. How do these ideas change through the key stages? Now I'm going to talk about this a little bit at the end, but in the booklet near the back, we've been looking at threshold concepts. Okay? Something I found on Twitter, because I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to my subject knowledge. Someone was talking about terms and language that feature in your subject and how that changes throughout the different key stages. So again, it's been a process, that one, and we actually did talk to primary schools, which brings me to this one. What have they come with? What do they need to leave with? A few weeks ago I met with our feeder schools to talk to them about what they can do. It's really interesting for RE because, as you might imagine, they're quite pinched for time in those kind of subjects. So it was really good to get a very honest, this is what we can't do. So I said, well, if you can get them to this point, that would really help us because this is where we see them when they come here. So I've shared that vision with our feeder schools. I imagine if you do English, maths and science, there you will have a really definitive point they can get them up to. But other more discrete subjects that are taught within themes, it would be really important to talk to your primary schools to actually get them on board with where you need to get the students before they come to you. But also, like I said, what do they need to leave with? If I want my students to take A level, I want them to understand what that would mean. So I need them to be able to write long answers. I need them to think critically about ideas, but I also need to tell them what that means. So I need to be able to tell them, how do you critically look at work? So this is what we worked on as a department. So we have all of our wonderful pieces of paper, all of our documentation. We had a big chat about it all and what we wanted. Started smushing it together. That's that first page of written documents. Now, in RE, we've actually, I'm not gonna lie, we've got it pretty good. We have 2 learning assessment objectives. Learning about religion and learning from, which, by the way, I hate the wording of in itself. Basically, AO1 is the knowledge and AO2 is the evaluation and the criticism. I prefer to put it that way. I know, again, from conversations with English and other subjects, they have loads of assessment objectives. So that is where the challenge will be for some departments. But for us, we only had 2. Sorry, got it quite good. So I put together, with the help of the team, this is a lot of it copied and pasted from the original sources. So most of this isn't me rewriting everything. I just copied all the stuff that we had agreed in an order that we thought made sense. And it's the full journey. So this is from the very top end of A-level to the very bottom end of year 7. That is where we did. So I've got one, that's the one you've got is just AO1, so that's just the knowledge stuff. But I do have one that we made for the AO2. Now, this wasn't even the first document. I played around with how I wanted it to be laid out and talked to the team. I worked really closely with people that managed me as well, because I needed their support basically, because I didn't want to just go off on an idea. But this I thought was really important. So once I did the smooshing together, technical term, at this point, my understanding was going to be, it was kind of at this point that the school started talking to me about life beyond levels. And I looked at the journey by key stage. So I think on this one, it's got advanced as the top, so that's kind of your A-level, secure was sort of GCSE, and then what's the word I've used on there?
Foundation.
Yeah, that was the wording for like kind of key stage 3 sort of stuff. So then I then broke those down into more advanced, so advanced at key stage 3. And that was quite nice, and that's what we started a trial. Oh, go on, yes.
Is it, sorry, so at Oriel, do all of the subjects have their own version now of assessment, or is it yours, like the one that's been...
Yeah, so I did all this work last year, and then I trialled out with our year 8s. So, really confusing to the kids.
For RE?
Just for RE,
okay.
In year 8, we trialled out the new levels, what would be the new level system. It's actually changed since we've done that already. So the rest of the school hasn't adopted it. In fact, most of the people in our school are having time to do that over the next few weeks and the last month or so.
So could it be that all departments will start using it from September?
I believe that is the intention, that from September we're starting with a new system. Okay? And that doesn't mean, so if you're working in other schools, your school will come up with something maybe that's a bit similar or completely different. Because actually, I started breaking it down that way, and then my Tim, who you might have seen walking around, he actually did say to me that actually what they want is to make it like I planned it, a journey. So cutting out A-level, because obviously the A-level isn't changing, that's still going to be grades. What they wanted, actually, let's on to this. What they wanted, that's the next sheet you've got there. Far simpler, you'll notice, a lot shorter than I've ended up with at the moment. When they come in year 7 and when they leave in year 11, they are on one block of criteria, 1 to 9. So I had to cut out the A-level stuff. I did keep some of the A-level language in the top end of the level 9s, and obviously, as I'm sure we've all predicted, the reason they've done it this way is so that they can just tag on a 10 or an 11 as we go through. So that leaves us space to come up with those A-level things or to add extra layers as we see fit. So this is what I've been working on in the last few weeks. This is more simplified, more specific grounds for our criteria. Now, again, there's an issue because most of our subjects haven't actually got grade descriptors out for the GCSEs, haven't got any guidance from other government things. English, maths and science, I think, all starting in September, so they've got a bit more guidance. The clue is you can't be too precious about it. It shouldn't take you long to kind of come up with this. Some really good sit-down discussion will be able to create this in not mega time. But what I did that was useful is I've got a description of what each kind of level or grade looks like, summed it up as well for kind of quick reference for us, the department. Now I'm going to talk about this later, but I've also added little miniature layers here because I'm predicting some issues potentially with this. But yeah, I just wanted a really simple, concise document that had everything, and obviously, like I said, got the AO2 stuff as well. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, just looking around like this room, for example, you've got little statements up there that say to achieve a level such and such.
Yeah.
Are you anticipating you will use the literature that you've got in your new assessment and will do similar things that say to achieve level 1? What? I don't know. It's not meant to be a level, is it?
Well, yeah,
it's assessment without levels. But I guess to achieve level 1, you are demonstrating that you can recognise and maybe put a few things like terms and use of language. To achieve a level 2, you are demonstrating you can infer meaning. So it's that. Okay.
Yeah, it is. In our school, how we decided is yes, the level system is being scrapped, but they wanted to still have something very definitive. So we are going to be referring to these
as levels.
I don't know if the word's going to be levels or grades. I don't know. Grades.
And are you going to share those numbers with the students?
Yes. Yes. These will be shared with the students.
And your anticipation then is that that 9 is equivalent to GCSE level 9?
Yeah, basically, yeah. So the idea would be that this is the same system, and I suppose from a school perspective, it means that the target they get at the end of Key Stage 4 will be their target for the year, and then you'll have end of year Key Stage targets and things like that. The logistics of that hasn't quite been worked out by the leadership. Yeah, don't want to go in that,
No, I just wanted to ask, are you going to speak to like the subject leaders that is actually in charge of the curriculum development? Or
I've been to their faculty meetings and talked them through this process, and they're all leading with their departments. So I know that, say, Geography met yesterday, had a day off time, not yesterday, but a day off time to work through what theirs would be like as well. So there is what the heads of faculty are aware of, the kind of the schemes. I'm kind of almost leading the session as you can come and talk to me if you're struggling with how to start it off sort of thing. We found the process really helpful. Okay, I get a lot of teachers, and we do love to moan about stuff, that it's a lot of work, but I found it incredibly useful because we made it about our CPD. We found value in it. It wasn't just the school's going to have new level system, so let's do that. We made it meaningful, and actually the work we've been doing has helped us to produce better quality assessments. It means that the criteria that we're telling the students is going to be better, higher end, and we can actually tell them what they have to do specifically as well.
May I ask one more question?
Yeah, of course.
So departments are currently having timetable to work together on this. So let's say take the geography department for example. What are they using as their endpoints? Because their new syllabus will not have been published.
We had the same problem.
Yeah. So what did you? How did you go about that?
With us, well, actually, bizarrely, I've been thinking about this a lot because I've started doing exam marking for the A level, and actually, it's a lot simpler than we've allowed it to be. So that's why it's really important to think about what you would expect from them. So from the highest end. Now, like I said, it's a work in progress. So eventually, exam stuff might come out, and we need to tweak it a little bit. But fundamentally, in terms of skills in your subject, some of those aren't going to change. You know, I'm always going to need them if they want those higher ends to be able to have added insight. They need to be able to apply these to issues that are going on in the world and know that that's always going to be top end. Yeah. In terms of the middle bands, talking about different denominations, talking about
comparing.
Yeah, those might change, but they won't go anywhere, but where they're expected to be might move on the scale.
Yeah.
So we just used what we had already. and I got some advice from, say, OCR. I asked them about the GCSEs and the level, and that was quite useful because you might have heard about 4 is a C, and B is the top of a C and the bottom of a B. And actually 5 is probably what most schools are going to be like, the 5 A-star C's and that.
I want to say, didn't government announce now that level 5 is of the grade 5 is actually
Yeah, that's what I'm
top of
saying.
C,
Yeah, so it's the top end of a C though, so it's slightly more difficult.
It's not a direct.
Yeah, so what the woman from OCR said to me is, look at what the grade C boundary is, but bear in mind that that's a 4, and then add what you need to from that. So actually the work that we've looked at, I then worked with the team and I said, look, this is what OCR have said, so do we agree that what we've got here as a 4 would kind of be what we expect from someone that gets a low C, and would we then expect the 5 to be kind of going into the B grade currently? We were kind of all right with that.
So almost like a B minus.
Yeah, yeah. So it's top C. Yeah,
Yeah.
C plus B minus.
Okay, that way.
And actually, do you know what I've noticed? It's far more layered at the top end, so there's far more fine grading as it is at the top end. At the bottom, it really big chunks. I think basically what is a G's gone, and like an F would be the lowest kind of grade, so that would be
So
1.
bigger jumps.
Yeah,
between
bigger
grades
jumps at the
and lower
bottom.
grades.
At the higher end, it's much finer, much
Yeah.
smaller together. Pretty
Because I was going to
much.
say, if your C grade is a 4, you've got 5 more to be what I guess used to be the A-star or
Yeah.
A-star and a
The
half.
vibe I'm getting from the government is they want to have more layers kind of thing, so you don't just get loads of kids getting
Yeah,
A-stars.
more differentiation between your
Yeah.
excellent students.
Yeah, which from the work we've been doing, we don't mind so much, but it's as long as we keep an eye on how things are developing.
I guess as well, if your grade boundaries like go on percentage and say 80 plus is an A or A-star, there's a 20% difference. So if someone scored like a 90 odd, they're being given the same grade as an 80, whereas you're allowing for more
Absolutely.
definite, like,
Finer.
Yeah,
grades.
that's what we're noticing, yeah.
How's it, like, Key Stage 3, what's the highest level, like, realistically?
Technically, they could.
Yeah, they could, but...
For me, I would probably want to get them to 4s at the end of year 9.
I mean...
No, but those would be the kids who are
Yeah.
getting it.
Some
So,
good kids.
yeah.
So, is that kind of the thing that I'm worried about? Because this is that... Are parents going, what do you mean my kid's on a 1?
Oh, yes. Well, obviously,
what
we
they
tried
want
that out. Oh my
and
god.
everything.
Yeah, actually, I'll come back to this
Because I'm just
stuff.
wondering, 'cause obviously going to schools and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, the students, when we were teaching them in the year 8s, because I had to do this every time I gave an assessment back, I was like, remember guys, we're on a different system, and I have a nurture group who are very low end, and some of them were getting 1s, and they're like, what? But I'm getting 3s in my other side. I was like, relax, chill. The parents, I don't even think the parents were even noticing. No one ever got back to me when I was envisioning that problem. I think there is going to be a huge thing, and I would hope that our school and other schools would want to make it really clear to parents, because otherwise it's... Because actually, one of the things that we noticed is, because our school has said that they won't have sub-levels.
They
But
will or they won't?
They won't. Our school has said they won't.
So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
basically.
However,
Key Stage 3.
the issue could possibly be that the journey from 7 to 11 year students will be on levels, these grades, for longer. And that's where I think parents will have the issue. Why is my kid's not progressing?
Yeah,
My
they're
kid's
still
still
on
on
a
level 3. Now, this is where I've been a bit sneaky, and I'm a bit concerned about the camera now catching me out. I've created little subdivisions.
Yeah.
Now, part of that is also because as we would like to be able to tell students specifically the different elements of that level, but I predict that the school might eventually go, not maybe sub-levels like A, B, and C's, but maybe pluses and minuses. So this is a 1+ or something like that. Just because I think if the school's going to be delivering a system like ours, there will be an expectation that a student will be on a level for longer. but how is that then going to be demonstrated
As making progress.
as making progress? So that definitely is something that you have to think about.
And I'm just thinking with my subject as well, because we're going to start doing this on Thursday, we might have to bring in more written work at Key Stage 3 if we're going to face some of the areas. Now we might have kids that are on us, because we've got some really talented kids, 6 or 7 performance-wise, then written, and so we'll actually balance out like they do at GCSE, and I know that I've spoken to a colleague who's moved schools, and he says that's what they do.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there was
that kind of thing.
I like it. I'm jumping between my slides here in an oh so casual way. One of the things that schools suggested is that maybe an assessment will only look at one learning outcome. So one thing. So we have looked at the fact that we might do tests because actually the GCSEs will probably be percentage-wise actually. So we can do tests for AO1 stuff, knowledge, and we can do that. But for the AO2, which is more about analysis, we might want lengthier answers, and actually that's perfect for training them for A-level. So then some assessments might be AO2 based. So I think that that's a way that you can show progress, is if you say they have progressed on this learning objective, but we haven't assessed this one yet, and that will be the next term or whatever. So there are ways that you could kind of factor around.
Are you going to do a baseline assessment with them then?
In terms of target setting when they come here, that is another thing that's being discussed. When I spoke to Tim about it, they were thinking about using some of the, even the primary schools, they're coming up with exceeding or meeting. They've got very fluffy language, but English, maths, science, depending on the subjects, they want to use some of that feedback. But I asked him if we might be able to set a baseline assessment, because that would really be useful in terms of, now that we know what we're assessing, we can make an assessment that will demonstrate the skills we're talking about. Because that's the problem when you're taking feedback from primary schools, because you're not 100% sure if they're meeting the same criteria as you. If you had a baseline, and then you can be like, right, well at the moment, little Timmy is on a 2, so now we know, and we can set that and think, well, in the end of this year, we want him to get a 3. At the end of the next year, we want him to get a 4. So we can use that for target setting. But that's not a definite yet. That is, again, still a working program.
Why don't they do it in the core subjects as well, with the baseline assessment? Because
They might do. Yeah, they might do.
There's going to be an end of Key Stage 2 assessment still then.
to look at. Yeah, but you can still, you get kids from different schools, and not to use just that set of data, but use your own data as well with the baseline.
I think.
Like it's like an interest exam.
Yeah, I think we have to be really careful, because then you don't want to create this whole, oh my god, the first day test.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know if they.
But personally, actually, I wouldn't see it as a, oh, we're giving a test class. It's just, hey, I don't know who you are. You've never been.
You're doing
I want to see where you are at with this particular topic before you start a topic, just to give them a little. Just try out these few questions. I'm thinking now, maths ones.
No, exactly. See if you can do them, kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely. I'll go back. I'll go into this. Yeah, one of the other things that we found this was helpful is because the staff knew more of what we were looking for able to model. We want to do less assessments, but do them better. So I would give some of the stuff that we asked them to do in the year 8s, we'd give them this assessment, and they wrote lots, but they didn't still demonstrate the skill we wanted. And that possibly is our problem for not actually, we know now, but have we made that explicit to the students? So, better modelling, we create the work, an example of it, or even just a paragraph of an example. So, and we can make sure that we embed the things we want them to have talked about. Because actually, once you explain to a kid, oh, actually, I kind of expected you to talk about this, they're like, oh, yeah, I know that. So, it can be really useful for modelling, and we now know what we're talking about more.
Sorry. When you say you're going to do fewer assessments, 2 questions. How many lessons do you have with them in a week or a fortnight?
Well, yeah, this was our
problem. And then sort of over the course of the year, how many assessments would you anticipate them sitting?
Currently, the framework was assessment half term, I think, is meant to be the way it goes. But considering that in RE we saw them once a week, that's incredibly difficult, and it takes up a lot of time if you want to do an effective assessment and then marking. And we've been doing all this green pen, letting them improve. It's mega amounts of workload. So I just said to my department, and luckily actually the senior leadership have kind of gone on board with this, less assessment, so one a term, but more meaningful.
So that will be basically be different for each department, how they do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
So then I think that would be much better, because then you can have the time to be like, right, model, this is what we want it to do, talk about the criteria, this is what that could be like, off you trot. And then they should be more confident with doing it.
But just how do you address the thing of attainment of knowledge of the learners? I mean, you don't see them as often, so with not a lot of assessment taking place and so on. So how would you guys address the attainment of knowledge of the learners?
Like AFL in that.
Yeah, it's coming down to if we can embed the skills in them consistently through the work we do, then it is just the knowledge stuff. It is just teaching the stuff. In the lower key stages, we're planning things of work that complement what we know we will eventually need them to do for the new GCSEs and new A-level. Which is why actually it then helped to do the work with primary schools, because we're like, look, we need to get them to talk about this in depth when they're with us at key stage 3. So do you guys do that or not? And maybe we'll cut this out, you guys do this. It just means they're not repeating themselves all the time.
I think, like you said, providing you get those fundamental skills, when the content comes, they'll be able to demonstrate to you they've got a full understanding of the topic.
Yeah.
Because they know how to express their knowledge of the topic.
Yeah, and being able to tackle that kind of stuff. You know, with all this marking I've been doing recently, they don't have to demonstrate those higher end skills. So if my students can tackle the question, they should be fine, but you never know what kids will be like when they go to an exam and they freak out about the question. But then actually, if you can teach them the skills of being able to pick apart an exam question, then they should be there for it.
Yeah.
But actually, some of the work we've been doing has involved that solo taxonomy and the threshold stuff, which are the things at the back of it. The threshold is so then we've shared this with the primary schools as well, what we envision a student will be able to develop in terms of their understanding of key concepts in already an exam language. The solo taxonomy, I've become a little bit of a geek about it, bless you. It's looking more at not just stretch and challenge in terms of giving students extra work, but actually you considering, right, today, so the example I think you guys got is the Buddhism, samsara and rebirth. So at a very basic level, the weakest kids, I want them to know what rebirth means, what it means to be reborn. That's fine, so that's one individual idea. And then they get more complicated, and actually the activity at the bottom requires a lot more analysis and evaluation. If you're not familiar with solo taxonomy, give it a Google, a little check. Those little symbols that are on there relate to it. So it basically goes from individual isolated ideas, lots of ideas that link together, and then you creating something new from it. And that's been very useful in terms of us thinking about, well, in a lesson, what's the most complicated creative aspect of the knowledge we need them to know? Or what simple bits of information do they know to get to that point? And so we've designed a lot of activities and ideas. This is one of those things that gets talked about during some of the other sessions you might have been to today. We don't use this for like every single lesson, because then it becomes like a novelty thing, and let's use it in all of our lessons. It has been a really useful way for us to start, and with certain activities, to think about how they're developed and how we can expand on a simplistic idea. So what we found, we've already talked about how students wanted to know what it's comparable to. It's up to you if you guys wanted to share that kind of information or not. I personally think when we're talking with our students, especially in RE, we're just going, look, it's a new framework. It doesn't match up exactly. We can't tell you. You're on a 2, you're on a 2. Just go with it and know that you want to get on a 3.
Yeah.
Just know that. The idea about the sub-levels, if you're wanting to do a system like this, might be worth just considering if you had to create sub-levels, what that would look like. So I've done it there. There are 3 little layers of them. And yeah, because of that, how can you demonstrate progress? So are you going to assess different learning objectives at different times? Are you going to argue with your school and say, actually, we're going to have sub-levels, we're going to have plus and minuses, give them to us now. But this is some of the most important stuff. You need to, as a department, agree what this means, which is why I think working with the team to unpack what the levels are like and what the grades are like as a team, because if you're making rigorous assessments, if you're making this more fixed, then you will have to review what that might mean. But that should also be true of the whole school. So what I would hope is that the whole of our school will eventually get to a point where they know that a 5 is the standard, and a 5 equates to bottom B, top C, and that we're all agreed on what that means in terms of the skills that we're giving students. Mostly. Honestly, it's been one of the most useful things I have done with my department since taking up post 2 years ago. The work we've done and how we're really on board with how we're assessing the work we're producing, that will then show the kids has been amazing. You know, they're all of our department, they're coming up with model work and we're scanning it into the computers so that we can then use them when we do the assessments next year, and the tweaking that we've done. Every time a new piece of information comes out, we go back to the table and we go, right, does our assessment stuff we've got at the moment still work? Do we need to change it? And that's the biggest thing you've got to do. You've got to make sure that, especially if you're in a subject where things haven't come out from the government or exam boards, that you're keeping a bridge of what's going on and that you can adapt this as and when you need to. But if you do it right, there shouldn't have to be massive changes to it, because what you expect from a student at the very best of their game in your subject should never really change, because that's why they're the best. What time does our session have to finish? Pretty much. When's the next one?
I think that's on the half past.
Awesome. Okay. Now, for that avail, I would like you to help me in our process. You've got here the current AO1 RE stuff. I'd like you to have a little chat, or a little think if you don't want to talk to anyone. Have a look at this. Do you agree that this is going up in complexity in your opinion? Because we've debated about where things go. So do you agree that this gets more complicated? Do you agree that these are broken down versions of this? Also, I'd like your opinion on whether or not you think that this is a document that it should stay as it is. Do I need to change the formatting? Is this something that is shared with the teachers, or could this be something that's shared with the students? Or would I need to change it to be the students? I want you guys to help in terms of evaluating our stuff. So if I give you about 4 minutes, just have a look through, have a chat, come up with some ideas, and then I will be able to add and take your ideas away. Okay? This was the original, so we got everything that we had in our room and a map. So from the very bottom to the very top, so year 7 to 8. And this was it.
Oh, right, it's the ones there.
Behind the stuff that we had.
And then you'll update it. And
I think something
This is like the social so you go right.
and it had things like key terms.
All right, so you're talking about actually.
Highlight it on certain colours, so at the start of
But that was just my
term.
I think these are my grade at some point.
Yellow and then
Officially, you'll be what's because that's what the thing is, but you should have
and
in
then
the
at the end
backbone
of
of
the
what
term,
it would be like.
do the same process.
But
I started my own nice,
yeah.
but then I was
Yeah.
told,
I think this academic bit of the top is a bit too like, in this
No, what I've done is so that so the original checklist is for A level, but the A level is not factored in obviously because they've still got grades. So the A level students are over here, that's the stuff that we're going to have. So yeah, have it done, but know that technically won't give I think, yeah, you should give it 9, because 9 is going to be the top percent, isn't it? So that's
So basically, it turns out that every subject.
But even when the kids are doing GCSE work, if you're doing in-class assessment, I don't know how, if I can just...
When the students are
they still got to colours, all the other ones in between.
I think what would be really good is when they put blocks, definitely, because they are much larger base numbers to use in terms of the 3%. But yeah, when you're just doing like little in-class like questions, but yeah, but that's why we've got it, just so we can give them
what we
feedback.
want to achieve at a higher level, I understand that, right, we're specialists, we're experts to know what's happening.
Yeah.
And then we can actually either preempt the government or do better than what
The
they
only thing
anticipate.
that I would be worried about is if schools are all doing different things, if you've got a child who moves across.
Feel free to be ruthless, guys, if you think that there's something that's in the wrong place or just badly worded.
Because the next school's doing something different.
Yeah, I completely get that. I think the problem is because you have some more actual assessment at that level, every school's going to do something different. And God knows what that's going to look like.
Oh, sorry.
What is that? Explain to one parent drama, you've got to explain history, that means slightly something different.
I'm wondering how that's
Yeah.
Deliberately, to test you guys, to see if you're paying
Oh,
attention.
nice, no, good.
So next to
That's
the
good.
Said that, that's a
elected
great
to
line.
say
No,
this
I made a mistake deliberately.
but it won't match up
Yes.
with what
Clearly, you're not paying attention.
Nice.
12 different ways of one.
Okay then, guys,
Yeah.
so, any feedback on what this kind of looks like for me to take away for a department?
Nikki, sorry, I want to say it's brilliant, really, I like this. Just one question, I think they've also touched on that. Where I come from, we also used, where they changed in the government from 2 levels, from 1 to 9. Now, what I would like to know, if learners move from schools, from the one school to another school, how does the different schools, do they work overall? Is there a general national curriculum that all schools follow that's the same? Or is it basically you interpret it as this is what we need to do, the next school interpret it in a different way?
I think in Key
And
Stage
then they
3,
go-
yes. Key Stage 3 is going to be really difficult for kids that come
Is
from
it?
different schools. Yeah, because
Because-
there are some schools that aren't going to have any
Yeah.
levels. They're going to be very holistic and things
You
like
see,
that.
because that's a problem, because
Yeah.
what happened with us with maths is we would have done in our school, for instance, algebra first, other school would have done geometry first, and then they come over, and it's a kid have missed like a full 2 or 3 topics, and there's no time for you as a teacher to catch up with them. So is that now, so it's going to be...
Not carry on.
Yeah, that is still going to be.
We like
Also-
that one because it did not work back home.
Yeah, I mean,
Was
a
difficult.
GCSE would be better. Well, in RE it's going to be better because actually the exam, they've given us such rigid subject content that all the examples are pretty much the same now for us. Or will be anyway. But for the other subjects, I don't know what they'll be like if the examples are similar. But the grade criteria should be as it is now in the GCSE.
I like the way that you put it out, because if I was a parent and you would have given me a document like that, then I would know as a parent, okay, my kid is, if they can do the following things, I know they're level 1, or they can do the following things.
And we just did a teaching learning thing in the library where they had like an arrow, with the learning objective, and you could tick where you were along the line, so the kids can own.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, there's been so many sessions I've been to today. Kevin Pride's work this morning, and the great CPD stuff with David Weston, where it's talking about if you use this for CPD, it can work really well, and if you use, and you're very specific about what you want, it means that you can create really nice, clear objectives for students. I'm glad that you think it's clear, because that's kind of, I think,
I mean, building on that, I think this was, again, a really good document for teachers, but my initial thoughts is, as a student, I want it to be a checklist.
Okay.
So I want it to be inverted. So the number 1's at the top, and I'd be like, right, I can put a tick next to that, because I can do that. What's the next thing I need to
do you think, this is where,
Yeah,
yeah.
version for the staff,
Yeah.
but then for the students,
For the
to stick in the
students'
front of their
checklist.
book as a bit of a checklist.
Do you think it's worthwhile, because I've always debated this, having the universal, so something like this, universally skills, having in the front of their book, and then you have for with each assessment you have different grading. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what yours.
That's all we've got for here.
Yeah, and does that work having something universal for them to compare it to?
Well, it certainly, I think it, as you were just saying, it is inverted going
Yeah.
from level currently, level 1 to 8, and all the statements are worded I can. So, they can clearly understand what it is they need to do, specifically in each individual activity you teach, to
Yeah.
be a level.
Yeah, so for each.
So 3 selects.
Okay.
And I said about how you could highlight or tick off, like, well, you said which one you've done to show progress, but somebody also said you could rag it. So you say, I'm rubbish at this at the moment, oh, now I've become amber, and then I'm really
I did try that. I did try with the year 8s. I gave them feedback, and I didn't write any feedback. I just highlighted, and if it was green, I was like, if I've highlighted that box green, go to your main thing and highlight it green because you've done it, and you know that that's something you can do in RE. So I don't want you to ever go for that level again. You need to go for the next one.
What I've found in the past more useful for the student front of books, rather than a checklist of I've done this, is 5, 6, 7, 8 bullet points with the language of that level. So if a student is writing or speaking at a level 6, for example, these are the kind of sentence structures you might be using.
Okay, so kind of like that threshold stuff.
Yeah.
How they'll be using that language.
But it's more of a, so rather than I've already achieved this, it's more of a, I'm going to use this language now to try and move myself forward. Just as a tool in the classroom.
We are doing a lot of work on literature, because obviously because they're essay-based things at A level, we do want them to be more expressive and better with the way they talk about their stuff. So if we can give them the phrases, so the phrases of comparison,
Yeah, exactly, that kind of thing.
that would work really well
At a
actually.
low level in the picture I can see, and then kind of you build up from there.
Yeah, no, I think thank you, that's a really useful idea.
Sorry, so again, listening to what you were saying, building on the checklist idea, if you did have it as a checklist, you could even go as far as to then sort of, I don't know if you could get them to number their pages or make some sort of date reference of a piece of work that shows them that they met that particular target. So that if they forget
that's good.
how they've met that target or how to achieve that, this progress isn't a straight line, sometimes you will go backwards.
Yeah, especially if you are going to break down your learning objective, so AO1 and AO2, AO3, AO4, if you're going to assess them differently, it is going to go up and down.
And then as they are then building up their workbooks, they are building up their own model answers as well.
Yeah.
Which could help them.
Oh, no. Yeah, that makes sense.
Have you got any definition of what good spag looks like? I noticed you've got good spag at 4 and exceptional at 9.
Yeah, so with good spag, it'll be kind of like standard stuff, but I suppose with perfect spag, I'm talking about the fact that they're using eudaimonia as an example. They're spelling that really specific language stuff. With good spag, I would mean that they're not making those they are mistakes.
Yeah.
Or two mistakes. But with exceptional, I would say that when you're using the language, I've got no qualms that you've spelled the words right. I probably wouldn't be there. My spag is even an expert language, not just a language. Yeah.
I wondered if you'd consider putting that in on more levels, considering the greater, what's the word on it? The spag is going to become a greater part of the marks that are all.
Yeah, I think for GCSE we might have to consider where that goes and how much it's featured. But weirdly at A-level it doesn't matter. As I've been marking work, it doesn't matter if they spell a key philosopher's name wrong, or even if they get the wrong philosopher. It doesn't matter. Oh, that's fine. That's my own bugbear. Yeah, sorry, I'm okay. But yes, anything else someone wants to add? You've all been very nice about it.
That's great.
Are we all happy that's kind of going in complexity?
Yeah.
In that case, guys, look, you're more than welcome if you want my contact details, my email account, my Twitter account, or anything like that, if you wanted to bounce ideas. I think Tim's going to be putting this on something to share, but if you want to ask me questions, I'm more than happy to share with you. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.